Hey, what's up, everybody? Jake here, and welcome back to the Card Lounge podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Robo.
and we got a special guest for us today. It is the Bulbastore.
What's up, guys?
Buddy, can you tell our viewers what it is that you do and why you're so awesome?
So I'm on YouTube. I mainly go around, travel the country, do a bunch of card shows, and then that's what I do: buy and sell, record myself doing a bunch of deals with people. You guys, get a show off. Lots of cool deals as much as I can, and kind of show what goes on at these shows, how these deals can be done. A lot of them aren't as simple as it seems. There's a lot of trading that goes involved. Sometimes they can be very simple, but sometimes they're very nuanced. So it just gives a little behind the scenes of what goes on at these shows and between buyers and sellers.
Nice. And I guess, one of the things that I think has kind of, at least when you popped up on my radar, you were kind of one of the first content creators that I saw that really was pushing the vendor POV content.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider yourself one of the kind of like forefathers of that style of content?
I would say in a way, I wasn't the first one to record it.
Who was that? Do we even know who?
Sports people have done it for like a long time.
Oh yeah, film
Inspiration wise, I grew up watching Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've always liked watching deals go down.
I watched like 12 seasons of that.
Yeah,
so we're the same.
that's like something that I grew up. I really liked doing deals and all that. But some of the first people watched Trading Card Empire and all that, but no one did it consistently at all.
Right.
And I was a little kid. Well, not a little kid, but I was like in college. I had tons of time. This is something I wanted to do. So I figured this is like, I want to make this a series.
Mm-hmm.
What do I call it? And then, so I did come up with the name Vendor POV.
Right.
And then, so that's why I say I'm the creator of the Vendor POV. And I would say I'm the person that made it popular in the first, like more mainstream.
I would say, right, where
for other people to catch on.
Yes.
And now there's tons of people out there.
Tons of people
way
doing it.
bigger, way more influential. But just to get them on board, I would say I had a good push for making it what it is.
And I would say that's accurate, especially like when you talk about I didn't even realize this, the name like vendor POV.
If you look
that's
it up,
what you the first title of that. Yeah.
It's me.
You're the okay, that's
one.
cool. And that in itself has become, I think, this new like meta genre of content, especially within the Pokemon hobby, because I remember creating, content years ago, and there wasn't really, especially because I feel like that style lends itself to getting a lot of views in long form content, but also each individual transaction is clippable to make short form content. But 4 or 5 years ago on TikTok, you can scroll and find someone doing a deal like that. There weren't even a lot of card shows going on. So I'm curious, when was the first kind of foray you went into kind of creating content specifically where you were like, all right, I'm going to film myself at shows?
So the very first time I did a show, I actually went as a buyer, see how it goes on. And then so it was Orlando Collectr Con. We flew, made like a trip out of it, so it was not that as big of a commitment. And then after I was like, this is great, I did my first local show, which I always recommend. You should do like a local show, lower barrier entry, super fun. I was like, hey, I can do this literally all the time.
Yeah.
I did like great in terms of selling. For a little, I had one table, not the greatest inventory, all the way in the back. It was a lot of fun and all that. And then again, I knew I wanted to record I still remember like being nervous if anyone would even watch it. Because again, no one's done it.
Right.
In that, for what I wanted to do it like full time. It's like, will people really watch this? So I'm glad people do enjoy it, but it was nerve wracking to commit to it because you got to buy all the equipment, and do all that stuff.
Yeah, the first time you did it, I feel like a lot of people now, because I'm sure you get this DM all the time of, well, what camera do you use? What setup do you use? You didn't have anyone to DM for that. So you kind of were like, oh, how do I set this up to where a camera kind of shows me on the right side, someone walking up to my table on the left, but I can still kind of frame everything and show the cards clearly as with whatever we're discussing.
Okay. How long did it take for you to really start to accumulate views? Did you pop off right away, or did it reach a point where you're like, oh, this is something now?
It was actually very, it beat my expectations. The first video I ever did, I don't know how fast, but it got like a couple thousand views, maybe in like a couple days or so. And I was like,
This is on YouTube?
On YouTube.
And
that
on
was
a
the
channel-
only, that was the only thing. A brand new channel.
Oh, it was 0 subs on
zero.
it.
That's
brand new
huge.
channel.
Wow. Yeah, that's
on a brand
huge.
new channel, you get like 50 views.
Views on
In
their
my
first
head,
video. Yeah.
I'm so used to watching big subscribers or big channels with millions, so they get like 100,000 the first 2 minutes. But I was like, oh, you know, a couple thousand people are watching this pretty good.
That's
my
huge.
first.
Yeah.
My first big break though, I think it was like my second or third video, was Denver Collecticon. I remember that one went above 10K, like really fast.
Mm-hmm.
How many subs were you at when that video?
I think maybe 1,000 or so.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
still, like, really-
Yeah, but I remember when I had my first 1,000, I was like, I have a picture somewhere.
Of like,
I
we
was
got
like,
1,000
I think
subs.
Michelle took it. I was next to the screen. I was like,
Yeah, it's nice.
at
Yeah.
every milestone. So I don't know. It was a while ago, so I don't remember how fast. But I do remember Denver was like the big break. That one got a lot of views.
But you had done okay, so you
But
had
I'd
done
done, like,
videos
3
before
before
that.
that,
Okay,
yeah.
and what year was that? Like when you mentioned Orlando Collecticon, you went out to fly to buy. How many was
I think
that?
it's 2 years ago.
So 2023?
I think so.
Oh my gosh!
At
Wait,
the beginning, very beginning, like
the
January.
very beginning of you was
Because I know my channel's like a little over a year old, I think.
so 2023, January 2023.
I believe so.
Was there no vendor POV content before 2023?
It's that it's very new, and I get why it's new because basically Collecticon had to exist for it to even become a thing.
That's true, and that
Collecticon was a COVID thing. Yeah,
You're right.
5 of them.
I remember the first one was like even I guess yeah before COVID, but then there was the long break, and then I remember when they were pushing them back, and the first one back, everyone was kind of freaking out because it's like, oh, can we all be in the same room together? Back when it was still like kind of you didn't know if like you could just walk around with masks or not have masks.
I got a question for you, and this is personal, but Rob and I, we're doing our first vending show in Las Vegas card show in 4 weeks. And we have no idea what we're doing. Help us out, please. How do we do vending?
We have
Sure.
some idea. Okay, yeah.
Sure. I actually, well, you're already doing like my first tip, which is always to do a local one.
Right.
Okay,
That's the
right.
because you don't have to pay for a hotel, flight. So even if you don't do good, you're really only losing out on your table cost.
Okay.
Which, if it's local, it should be cheaper, smaller show, whatever. Usually, but for me, my very first one, I used personal collection stuff. That's a little tangent, but basically, you gotta do everything you're willing to sell. Just put it on the table if you have the space for it.
That's what. Yeah.
And for me, I think at the time, it wasn't as competitive.
Mhm.
So pricing wise, I would ask below solds,
Okay.
or at or below solds, because at the time I was thinking about quitting. If I'm honest, like just getting
Wow.
out of the thing. So it was just a good place to sell
Wait,
all
getting
my
out of what thing?
Pokemon.
Oh, of Pokemon in general.
Yeah, I was like,
oh my
I
gosh,
don't know. And then this kind of reignited it. That was
Okay.
like the tangent, but
interesting.
because you can sell so much at a good price.
Mhm.
If you're selling like 90%, 95%, I was just trying to sell it because in my head, sell it on eBay, you're gonna lose like 15. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're just trying to liquidate, how you price your stuff nowadays, because I only have limited quantity and I know people will come up. You have to kind of be realistic with yourself on how much you're going to sell at the show,
Mhm.
and that determines really how firm you can be on your prices. So if you have some really desirable stuff that you'd rather keep if you're not going to get top dollar or close to top dollar, then you could price it high, be firm on it. But if there's stuff that doesn't sell, or in my instance, I've had for maybe a year,
Yeah.
if it sold for let's say $100 and I can list it at 90, because I'd be happy to take 90, maybe even 80 on it.
Right.
So I guess pricing is definitely a good thing that helps people come, because you have good prices. I used to get told all the time, I have really good prices at my show.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is market price. Now I kind of understand a lot of people do price over market on purpose, like way over market.
It's kind of like a two-way situation, which is basically they price it high because they expect people to negotiate now down to market.
Right. It's
basically.
almost like expected. So like,
Yeah.
and that way, if you're like 10, even if you're $10 over, but if someone sees the sticker price and they're like, oh, can you do $10 off? You're like, sure, I can do that. And then it's just
So for me, I have it takes a lot. Instead of just looking at prices, you have to know a lot about the market, how fast. Really, it's how fast you can sell that item
uh-huh.
for more money if you decline their offer. So if you have a $1,000 card, they offer you 900.
Interesting.
You know you can sell it for more
Right.
if you wait. See, then you don't take an offer. But if it's a card that you haven't got an offer in that a year, I'll take 900.
You'll take
sure,
nine. Okay, right.
Because one in the hand's worth more than two in the bush.
Right.
So you have to kind of guess if you're going to get more in the future. How's it going?
And do you feel like you've become very good at that guessing game in a
Yeah.
way, because every time someone comes to your booth, you're seeing what they're buying, you're seeing the cards that are cycling through, really, you see the hot stuff.
You know what people
so
are asking for,
right.
yeah.
And so do you feel like you've become very almost like adept at knowing, what to take in at exactly what price, because oh, if I leave this on my table for an hour, it'll go at this price.
Yeah. So I am, but sometimes I get caught in the moment, and I always say, I don't even know if I always say, but I will say
Yeah.
that just because it's a good deal doesn't mean you should buy it. Because if it's a good deal, there might be a reason why. So if there's some really, like bulk, for instance, if it's 10 cents, you get it for a penny, that's a fantastic deal percentage wise.
Right.
So that's that's an extreme hyperbolic example. But if you get like a PSA or a CGZ 6.5 base set common card or something
Sure.
for like 50% market, I mean, it's a good deal, 50% market, but who's going to pay that?
It's tough.
Right. If you put it in your inventory, it'll sit there for 8 months because everyone's not really looking for a season
For that card.
6.5 common.
Shouldn't always chase the number of I need to be at this. People ask me like, oh, what's the percentage you pay? I say it depends, because it depends on, you got a Gold Star PSA 10 or a CGC common card. I can't pay the same
Sure.
percentage.
I think our
Right.
viewers would love to know more about that. Is basically they ask us the same thing all the time, but you see it almost on a day-to-day basis. Is what do you think right now is like liquid? What do you think is like hot right now? Like what are you seeing from the market?
So right now, I would say it's very inflated.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the very popular cards are, because they're so popular, they're worth a lot. So it's still kind of dangerous. And because they're popular and liquid in that sense, people expect more percentages. So really, while they're blue chip, that you would think, oh, these are so liquid,
Right.
they are still risky because you're paying such a high percentage. And if anything drops a little, you're going to lose. Like you pay 90% for a Gold Star, but it tanks 15%. One low comp hurts you. Then you're kind of still taking a risk.
Right. So are you
right
taking those
now,
in?
Gold Stars, I will take.
Oh, so you're still taking it.
I'll
though.
take it, but
So
it has to. Again, it's case by case. You got to see the comps.
Right.
If it's a $5,000 card and it just sold for 9,000, am I gonna pay
I see.
8,000 on that high comp?
Well,
I don't know.
and just so our viewers understand, in the sense that are you feeling like you feel obligated to pay strong because you can tell a seller of that card, if they're coming to you and you don't offer strong enough, in your mind you're going, oh, they probably know a buyer that will offer more than me, so I can't
a lot of the time,
lowball it too much.
I don't even most of the time, like I don't even know if I have it on camera, but I will straight up tell people, "How good? Someone here is going to pay you more than I can." Straight up, because I know someone will pay more than me. I'm not going to waste their time.
And sometimes I bet you say that sometimes, and sometimes people still just want to sell it to you.
So
If they
sometimes,
just feel inclined,
people
right.
will be like, "Well, what can you offer me?" I can pay you this, and then they'll negotiate it. I'm like, sure.
Okay.
That's happened between you and I before, where I'll bring you a card first, that. But sometimes he'll pass on a card. He'll be like, I don't want this, Jake. And I'm like, I'm cool with that. And I go to a different vendor, and you're right. Someone, you can make those arguments. Basically, you might be a little bit more risk averse, where the last two sold might be $9,000, but you remember that card being $5,000, so you're not going to pay $9,000 for it.
Yeah.
But I could take that card and I could go to a different vendor and say, hey, the last two sold for $9,000, and I might be able to convince someone that it's worth $8,000.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I do take that. It's not something you should do. It's probably some kind of bias, but like, it's kind of like when you buy a stock or something, and then it went up. You're like, I could have bought it cheaper. And sometimes I'll regret it.
Sure.
Sometimes I don't.
And
But
sometimes you don't,
You
yeah.
can't win them all.
Right.
So
you definitely can.
Even if you lose money on something, it's okay. You should, on average, make more.
Right.
I lose money on stuff all the time.
So when it comes to Gold Stars, you're kind of like, you got to see what they're selling it at, what kind of money they
like
want
if
for
there's
it.
comps on it, it's flat. Even if they're higher comps, but if there's a lot of them, it's recent. Sure, I'll pay you for the higher one. It's just like right now, it might go. The last comp was 2, 3, 5, 6,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of cards pop up like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, but Gold Stars are always very liquid, very sought after. Shinings, crystals. Those I kind of group those all in the same, like very
the
liquid category.
Yeah, well, those are all kind of like the secret rare chases of their respective genres.
Vintage for me is not that great at all. Like any vintage that's not a 10, I usually partition my trade cases. Those things are always untouched, pretty much. Like first edition PSA 9 Hitmonchan or something.
Right.
That it might be like $300, whatever.
I feel like I would want that. That's a cool card.
But there's so many of them.
I need some
more than you think.
I need some e-readers from you for sure.
You prefer 10s, right?
I prefer 10s because they're inherently more liquid.
They are
most because people prefer 10s.
I will say that as soon as a card is a 9, you lose like half your audience.
Yeah. Unless it's a gold star.
Right.
Unless it's because it's so valuable. It's
you don't
right, because the 10
is
so
anyway.
The 10 is so unreachable. Eventually
like
the
10x,
9s. But see, don't you think, I mean, eventually all 9s, like that is what the 10, 9, 8, like that is what having a rare card that's rare, hard to find, and then also in its best condition, once all the top condition cards are gone, you go to the 9s naturally, right?
I think it depends on the card. Like, in my opinion, any modern card in a 9 will never be worth
because
there's so many.
There's so many.
And
the
I think the same
so
because of the vintage. There's still so many. 9s.
Oh, for 9. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
even though it's not going to change the population, not many people want a first edition. I don't know.
I'm absolutely with you on that. Is that, to me personally, I think 9s and 10s are like the same to me. In terms of condition, they're not that different.
There's like a spec.
Yeah,
close.
Yeah,
yeah.
The 9 is so much more liquid, whatever you want to call it. It's so hard to trade a 9, but if you have a 10, like, dude, anyone will take a 10 any day of the week.
Right.
But I just simply prefer a 10 because other people prefer a 10. Even though, to me, 9s and 10s, they're not that different to me.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Like, when I'm trying to do sets for my personal collection. So, like, EXs, level Xs, I try getting all those.
Yep.
The price difference for the EXs, for example, for all 10 PSA 10s, and this was like before the boom.
Right.
I believe it was like $150,000 for all 10s. Now, probably, I don't know, 250,
more. Yeah.
100,000.
Let's say 250. Yeah.
Super hard to get, illiquid, if you want to sell it. The PSA 9s were not that popular at all. People were trying to sell them because they're not that popular. I like them. And they were pennies on the dollar. The whole set was, I think, like $20-something thousand.
Oh my
So it's like an eighth of the price or something.
That's a very specific market because basically you have two groups, right? You either have enough money to buy it that it doesn't even matter, or you don't have enough money and you're not interested. So you're either super rich or you're not interested. So that's why it's like 10 or nothing for those kind of cards.
Right. It's funny because then I feel like the 9s, I mean, that's why I'm trying to get all the e-reader hollows in a 9 because the 10s just seem so...
You're kind of okay with like even like PSA 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the gold stars. Yeah. At the time, I could only afford PSA 1. So I was trying to get all the 1s.
To just have all the gold
and then once you
stars.
finish it, now I'm trying to do 8s.
Okay, nice.
Because you got to like factor in, for the sets, you got to see how feasible is it for me to actually find these grades.
Yeah.
So that's something. So 9s are easily able to find, not too hard to buy for those sets. And it just makes for a good set. But I do like 10s if I'm just looking for like a single card or like maybe 2, 3, and it's reasonable.
Okay, gotcha.
I prefer 10s.
And for, is that for your collection or even just for vending?
That's for both.
Just like, for both.
All my entire collection is mostly 10s. I try to get all the Bulbastore 10s. Skyridge set, I'm trying to get the entire set in a 10.
Nice. Is that your favorite set, Skyridge?
Honestly, I say it's my favorite set. I don't even know why.
It's a cool set.
I like the e-reader, the hollows. There's 32 hollows, I think.
Yes.
Maybe 6 of them I like.
Okay.
I don't care about any other ones, but I like sets.
Right.
So.
Once you have those,
I don't care about the Fortress PSA 10.
Yeah, Fortress. Yeah.
But you already have. If you already have the other 27,
but you have the other 6 hollows.
You gotta complete.
Yeah, you're a completionist.
Or like I'm trying to get the commons and uncommons. I don't care about them individually.
Right.
But I like. It's just something I have to set myself goals.
It's a goal. Yeah. It's a
at the
collecting
shows.
goal.
Otherwise, I'll get bored.
Yeah.
And then I guess I would kind of say for like another thing, I like to get a good deal as well when I buy stuff.
It feels good.
It feels good because I could buy the entire Skyward set right now on eBay. I just add it all in my cart.
Okay, I guess.
But I'm just paying a lot of money.
Right.
But I'm not trying to finish the set. I'm trying to finish it at my pace, get a good deal.
At a good deal.
Yeah,
okay.
There's lots of people like that. You can buy a master set of most sets right now.
Yeah.
Like if you want a master set of like Cosmic Eclipse or something. You can find one on
You buy
eBay
it.
for like $2 or $3 grand.
Yeah, it's
but that's not as fun.
fun
Yeah.
as
Right.
just trying to get it piece by piece. That is true.
So Dylan's the kind of person that might get bored once you finish your chase, but then
Exactly.
you're going for the next one. There's always another chase.
Yeah, there's always like more sets to complete.
Always.
I feel like, and you could probably relate to this. There's like sets that you at one point, like 8 months ago, you're like, oh, I need to complete this, but then something gets your attention over here, and then you start working on this set, and then before you know it, you got 4 or 5 different. Like, oh, I'm trying to complete the Topps Chrome Sparkle set, and then also this e-reader set, and it's hard to balance all of them because at some point you make progress in the set, and then you're searching everywhere, and you're like, oh, there's no more of this. So you start working on this other thing, and you're like, maybe 6 months from now, I'll refresh, like, look at everything over here, and maybe there's more stuff I can use to complete the bar.
Any sets you have abandoned, like you thought you might be into it, you collected a little bit, and then you said, this isn't really my thing.
There's no sets that I've started that I've abandoned. There's some that are really hard.
Right.
I wanted, or some that are impossible. So Fire Red Leaf Green.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
It's the reverse hollow PSA 10s.
and those look so
Super
cool.
low pop. They look
Right.
great. Some don't exist. Some are
Right.
low pop and are hoarded by people, so you'll never get it. So right now I collect EX reverse hollows. Right before the podcast, I was bidding on eBay for like 3 that were pop 2, pop 4. It was like a Nidoran, Mura. I don't remember.
Some
It
Pokemon.
was some like obscure Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pop 4. I was like $90.
Nice.
Sure. And they just look cool. I grew up in the EX era. Most people are nostalgic.
That's
for
when so that was
WotC.
your grown.
I'm more EX. That's why I do the
Okay,
EX.
so what game did you start it? What was your first video
Leaf
game?
Green.
That makes total sense.
Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
People don't think Bulbasaur is my favorite Pokemon. It actually
It is, of course.
That's
Who doesn't think that? Look at all your
People are
shirts.
like, oh, this guy's fake.
Yeah. Okay,
makes
so
sense.
that's when you start. You know what? So before the vendor POV, let's take it back then.
Sure.
You're starting off as a kid, as we all were, which is why we all do what we do now. You loved Pokemon as a kid. When did you, or if you did you take a break from collecting at some point? And then when did you like come back into the hobby?
Sure. I actually didn't really play the card game. I still to this day don't know how to play the card game.
That's fine.
Oh, wow.
Pokemon
Yeah.
card game. And I got packs as a kid.
Yeah.
Just because I played the game. So my games playing up were Leaf Green and Sapphire.
Yeah.
I got those are like pretty much the only games I really played. I stopped after Diamond.
Gotcha.
So that's why I'm nostalgic about that set
era
and all that.
Yeah.
But those were that Leaf Green is kind of what kicked it off. Like I would always play it on my Game Boy.
I'm sure you clocked in a bunch of hours. Yeah.
But I never I'd buy packs because they were cool. I'd get a tin from Toys R Us and open it. I don't remember having any like really valuable cards. Like people are like, oh, you used to have a first edition Charizard. I maybe had a few EXs or something that are maybe worth like $30 today in mint condition.
Interesting.
So, well, cards were cheap back then.
It's-
Even like a first edition
I was-
Charizard was not that expensive.
Yeah.
Right, but he also grew up in the era when, because that's when I think a lot of the 90s kids grew out of.
Sure.
I mean, if you think about that card
The
era,
era
it's a
that
low
you-
print.
yeah.
It wasn't,
Not
Pokemon cards
popular.
wasn't popular.
Yeah, the era that you grew up in, Pokemon cards was kind of dead.
Yeah.
I was more into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Once you got like old enough, it's funny because when you look back at the timeline, it was probably just a year difference. But like you'd love Pokemon, and then older kids would be like, "Oh, you like Pokemon? That's for baby kids. You got to be like grown." And then those two kids are like 6 months apart, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, yeah, I want to be older and play Yu-Gi-Oh." And then it did seem a little like kind of like older thematic, types
I
of
would say
things,
so.
and it was just more. I played Yu-Gi-Oh too.
I
Like
think
after
I was like
Pokemon.
10 when I stopped. Because it
Yeah.
was when
That's a pretty
Diamond.
popular.
I remember I wanted Diamond. I got it for Christmas. I played it for a little bit, and then I stopped.
Yeah. It's like
It's like
middle
next
school. Yeah. And then once you get into high school, it's like people are like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, you can't play Pokemon anymore. You're like playing Magic, or you're just like focused on other things. So a lot of people get
Yeah,
out,
I was
I think, around that
completely
age.
out of the game.
Yeah.
When I was like 10, 11.
Gotcha.
And then to your other question, I got back into it.
Mhm.
I think it was 2021 or 2020. It was when Chilling Reign came out.
When
So
Chilling
I
Reign
used to
came
be so a little backstory. I used to buy and sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards in school.
Mhm.
That's how I used to. That was my little
That's how-
side hustle as a
Yep.
kid.
Yep.
So then in college, I was like, oh, why don't I mean, I still remember. It's kind of like riding a bike. You know how to buy and sell stuff.
Yeah.
So I was doing the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh. I was on Reddit.
In college.
In college.
What made you get back into that then? So Yu-Gi-Oh!
It was during
did that.
COVID.
So just the,
I was
okay.
just buying stuff online.
The
and
card stuff.
I remember going to like Walmart and stuff. I actually made money opening product, which is unheard of in the Pokemon space.
Well, no,
Well, what did you open? What did you open?
I was opening booster boxes that I'd buy on eBay.
What's that? I'm just
It was Rising Rampage and Ignition Assault.
Okay.
And there was, I don't remember if it was that one, but there was it was a set where Magician Souls was the hit.
Okay.
And I just kept getting that over
Sure.
and over
Yeah.
again. And then the Twilight, the really sparkly ones.
Sure.
The Starlight cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would get really lucky. I'd buy one box from the LGS, I'd hit it. I'd open a couple packs, I hit it. So I was actually making money opening.
Right.
I thought I was like, oh, this is free money.
This is like a free money
Yeah,
hack.
so
Yeah.
that's how I got like my binders. That's how I started selling on Yu-Gi-Oh and all that.
Gotcha.
And I went back home from college to the LGS with my brother, and then they had the Pokemon Chilling Reign, and I saw Blaziken VMAX, who is my starter from
Sure.
Sapphire.
Ah,
So I'm
so
a big
that-
Blaziken fan, and I was like, I've never seen these Pokemon cards look
Right.
like this now. So then I bought a booster box. I remember I got
You
Galarian
pulled it.
Rapidash. No,
Oh. All right.
I've never pulled it.
You've never pulled
Galarian Rapidash, and I think
The alt art? Is that like the
the
unicorn? one?
unicorn one.
Oh, I know.
And
That's
I
a good
looked it
one.
up. I was like, this isn't worth. Oh, me and my brother, we like, because we're so used to opening the Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
You look at TCG Player. What's the most valuable thing from
Right,
the
right,
set?
right. That's the
And I was
first
like,
thing people
oh,
do
this
from the
was
set.
$150.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, all day. But I was like, oh, but this, like, I really want to get that Blaziken. So I think I got another box.
Are you talking about the alt art Blaziken VMAX? The
Yeah.
one where it's
Yeah.
goofy?
Yeah.
That one's cool. That one's
Yeah,
cool.
that's the one that like got it in. I was like,
Right.
oh, this is a cool like art. I kind of like how they're doing like the full art stuff. I was out of the Pokemon game, so in my head it was the EX commons and hollows. Like the hollow was the hit.
Right.
You throw those away now.
Yeah. Now, so it's like you're coming back in and just being reintroduced to the new, like, yeah, the alt arts. I mean, it's funny because they had just started the alt arts with battle style. So you kind of coming back in around Chilling Reign. That was kind of relatively new, even to Pokemon. Even for if you'd like we'd gotten in before that, but like that kind of thing did kind of set off a new spark or interest in people's collecting
Was that
habits.
What interests you was alt art? You saw that and you're like, oh, these are cool.
Yeah. So even now, I just collect it as art. Like if the art looks cool, I collect it.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So like back then, I really liked Battle Styles as a set because I really liked the Empoleon.
And how that looked, yeah.
And so that was like, oh, this is one of my favorite cards. And then I remember everyone's hating on Battle Styles.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I kind of like Battle Styles. So I used to collect that Empoleon. I put it on my. I used to be a binder person, and I was the number one slab hater. Why would you pay money for a slab?
That's so
How
funny
do
knowing
the
you now.
binder?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd have my binder. I'd flip it through.
That's
I'm like,
not
oh, cool.
uncommon. I'll say like graded Pokemon cards are super common. Like everyone treats them like bread and butter now.
Mhm.
But 5 years ago, you were a mega nerd if you had anything in a graded slab. You know.
It's really evolved over the last like half a decade where it's almost like for it to even set in your collection is like when you have the graded version of it as opposed to it wasn't like that 5-10 years ago.
A lot of things kind of converted me though.
Mhm.
So when I selling online, I was doing the singles. I'm kind of a lazy person. And when you sell online, you got to take pictures. 9 out of 10 times I didn't know. They're probably looking to grade it. But can I see the pictures? Sure. I'm good.
Can I see the back? Can I
Yeah,
see
because
Can you zoom in on
close
the
up on the
corner?
corners.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm good, brother. So that plus
But that's what got you into graded is what you're saying.
Well,
the laziness of not wanting to deal with raw.
now from the business side and then from the collecting side,
Yeah.
I like getting the best of the best. So
Okay.
at the time, I was trying to get all the Bulbasaur cards. It's relatively easy to get any set or any card, pretty much, unless it's limited in quantity by itself.
Mhm.
Raw, like you can get any alt art TCG player, you can get any e-reader TCG player.
Yep.
But like the curve on price and value and rarity when it comes to 8, 9, 10 for these slabs is like that's exponential.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I finished it. I want, I want something harder. And that's when I was like, oh, the slabs are, especially for the older stuff,
This was a
they're more
chase.
exclusive, they're
Yeah.
harder to find. I need something to keep going.
You got all the Bulbasaurs raw, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
you got
'cause
them all.
most of them
It's
You just
like
bought 'em.
10 cents.
Yeah.
I guess
It's not
that's
that
true.
hard.
Yeah, so
Yeah, if you get them in LP in like whatever
Exactly.
condition.
It's
Yeah.
not that bad. If you go on TCG Player right now, you could buy one of every Bulbasaur and it'll get to you in
like
2 weeks.
$50, maybe.
Well, no, it's got to be more than
Because it's all
50.
Besides like
Something.
first edition,
I get what you're
even
saying. Yeah,
Shadowless, there was no Stellar Crown. There's no. It's all dirt cheap.
Right. Okay.
Because Bulbasaur is always a common card.
Right.
So I finished that thing real fast. I
Okay.
need something to. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the
I
10s.
need a challenge.
I finished the 10s. What's next? So now I'm doing multiples. I'm expanding to my other stuff. So it's literally just like a branching. Once you finish it, you gotta find something to keep.
Yeah,
going.
that's how it
Otherwise
just-
you'll get bored.
Right.
Same thing happened to me is that like I think in 2018
Mm-hmm.
before you guys, but I would go on TCG Player and in one night I looked up every single Pikachu and I just bought one copy of every single Pikachu. In one night I just had a complete Pikachu collection. And once you do that, you're like, what's next? So
Exactly.
then I go to like the Japanese Pikachu. I got
Okay,
every
yeah.
single English Pikachu on TCG Player in one night.
Right.
Like, well, that was kind of a boring chase.
Yeah.
And then you go into Japanese.
So Japanese definitely opens up, like, because I didn't know there's exclusive. I just learned about some Japanese Bulbasaurs that were Japanese exclusive.
Yeah, once you go
Okay.
to the exclusive Bulbasaur, like the Japanese ones, there's some expensive ones
Yeah,
there,
there's some
like
10th
McDonald's promo or
anniversary,
something.
Oh,
the
those.
McDonald's,
Yeah,
there's, like,
gotcha.
Gym challenge. But then eventually I would set alerts, PSA 10, and then you get so excited when you find them.
Mm.
But then eventually you got to keep chasing that aha treasure feeling of
Yeah.
finding that card you need. So that's why I try to set impossible goals. That way there's something for me.
You
that I'm
can't be
looking for.
bored. Yeah, and I'm curious. So you're kind of bitten by the bug again when you're opening up Chilling Reign with your brother, and it's just from you setting these kind of collecting goals that kind of just keeps you in the hobby. But I know at the beginning of the pod, you said one of the things that transitioned you to vending was, well, you thought you might just be exiting the hobby. You were trying to sell the stuff. So where was your kind of mental at in the decision of you're chasing these big goals, you've amassed this collection, and then now you're thinking, oh, you might
That's
leave.
pretty much the same time because I finished everything I wanted to. There was nothing more I wanted.
Okay.
So I was like, I did it all. Let me sell all my extra stuff. And of course, I would buy stuff. I knew I was just buying it to sell. Like,
Okay.
I would buy collections.
What,
purely
just to
resell-
flip them?
Just
or-
like someone sold me a binder of almost all the full art trainers. I don't really care that much
Oh.
about the full art trainers, so I bought all those just to resell.
Yeah.
And so I have stuff that I planned to sell
Uh-huh.
that I'm just trying to liquidate, and I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. Still in college, like I can do whatever
I got you.
want.
Yeah, because and this was all what year? You were still in college in
2021.
2021.
I'm just thinking about this poor
Wait.
guy who sold all his full
Well,
trainers
wait,
in 2021.
I know, yeah, that was the worst time to. Wait. 2021 is COVID happened when? March 2020?
Yeah, February 2020 was when it started.
Were you a college kid? Were you?
I graduated 2022.
Okay, so you're kind of like also, and this was what, your junior year, you're saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
okay.
junior year.
And then you're graduating the year after, but during your junior year is when you're engaging or partaking in going to card shows and vending. Like
No, junior, no. So
No.
I didn't do it till 2023.
okay,
But
after you graduate, or just like right when you were graduating?
after I graduated.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was buying and selling online only for
Right,
those first
which-
2 years.
yeah,
So
and I
I
think-
still knew what I was doing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think
at
a
the
lot of us
time.
start that way,
I
right?
didn't
It's
start like I want to start selling new. I've been selling, and when I did start, I think it's still relatively small in my opinion, but it was pretty big for like a local show. It was about, I want to say, $5,000-$10,000 of inventory
okay.
at my very first show with a couple slabs I brought and like some sealed boxes and stuff. I have a picture of it somewhere.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You have literally what, like less than 10 slabs when
No,
you
it
first
was
do it?
so I actually went as my display company. I was
Okay.
selling acrylic displays at the time that were supposed to be a giant PSA slab had a label, had a custom label.
I've seen these before.
And then it
But you had some slaps on the side.
yeah, well, I had the table had those plastic
Right.
sheets, and then I just put the slabs in there that
so
I was
people could
selling.
look, right.
Yeah, so I was supposed to be selling the displays. No
You're-
one bought the display.
Right,
They're
you're
buying
using
the
that.
card.
Right, you're using
Yeah.
that to show off your displays,
To
and then people
sell.
are like, "Hey, can you
How much
get these
is
out of the
that?
display so I can
Yeah,
get these
they wanted to
slabs?"
buy this. So it wasn't anything crazy. I had some booster boxes. I remember I had a Fossil the Gengar watch. You know, that one was
Oh
the
yeah,
one, like
yeah.
the numbered
from
one.
the Pokemon Center.
But
So you bought that from the you were
I bought
aware.
that secondhand.
Oh, okay, interesting. And then when did buying things from the Pokemon Center and stuff like that get on your radar?
I
Just
To this day, I don't mess with modern stuff. Like everyone's
just don't-
talking about the is it Black and White that just released?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Black and White is coming
yeah.
out soon.
I haven't gotten in line in any of that. I don't even
Sure.
check the thing or nothing. Just because I just like my old stuff.
Yeah.
So do you
Sword and
so do
Shield.
you take a prismatic or any of these newer
I'll take
sets?
it. I'll,
Okay.
sealed. I will now because I know other people want the new stuff.
Right.
Sure.
So as a seller, got to give them what I want. Same reason, like I'll buy base set Charizard because other people like base set Charizard.
Gotcha.
I don't care about it.
Sure.
So I'll buy stuff that I know will sell because other people will like it. I tend to stay away from new sets that are just released because they pretty much every single time
It's volatile.
tank in price.
Right. Or just if,
'Cause so
as
many
soon as it-
people are pulling it. and
right.
then
As soon as it
trading
comes out, the population
supply
of
is
stuff.
gonna-
Right. And then supply,
Yeah.
everyone's ripping it, and then suddenly it all tanks. Yeah.
Exactly. So I will, if it's a super, like I got prismatic evolutions because I knew everyone wanted it,
Mhm.
and I happen to have Whatnot help me source it,
Uh-huh.
but I don't have a distributor. I don't have anything like that.
Right. It's
So-
just people like, so really a lot of intaking for whether it's sealed stuff or even maybe slabs of some of the evolutions.
Yeah.
Like, do you pick those up from people coming to just sell it to you?
I will actually hold off if it's new. So
Because, right.
because
you
it's
think it,
volatile. I'll like,
Gotcha.
oh, that's gonna drop.
What's your rule of thumb? Like how old does it get before you're willing to start taking it?
Typically a year.
A year.
Wow, that's
New
long.
sets.
That's
Yeah.
long.
Well, I was going to say a year is about when prices level out to what their correct kind of stable
Yeah,
pricing
Right,
should
like,
be.
You don't mean like right now everyone's going to be walking up to you expecting like an Umbreon EX or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
But if they sell it to me at a good price, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
But it's still like, I'll give an example. There was the I think it was Sylveon or Espeon prismatic. It was 1600 at the time, PSA 10 for the English one,
Oh,
and I
that's-
bought it and I flipped it at the show and I sold it for under market, I believe, because I knew it was going to drop if I held on to it at all.
I see.
Same with the Twilight, the Greninja Masquerade. I think it was like 550.
Oh, that
at the
did get
time.
really high. Yeah.
And then I was like, just came out. It's probably going to keep dropping. So I flipped it below market because I didn't want to hold on to it.
I see what you're saying. So, and when you say that, you're not losing money. You mean
Yeah,
that
I'm
you,
trying to. I'm on
you-
a time.
when you
crunch
say
to
flip,
move.
right?
Yeah.
You're just what you're in. So
I'm
that Sylveon
gambling.
was 1600. You probably took it in at what?
Probably I
third-
don't know, like 12, 1300.
But then
And I
you're willing
sold
to let it
like
go for
1400.
14. Okay,
Yeah.
right. So just
Just to
get
get
the
a quick flip.
$100
Yeah.
out of it, and then
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will take a calculated risk, and I'll do that. Same with sealed. I usually don't buy sealed because we travel a lot. If someone
Takes
comes
up
up
more
with a
space.
nice booster box at a good deal, I'm like, I'm sure I could sell that. Probably
just right here in the
right
same
here
day.
at the show.
That's so crazy. How much do you? This is something that I feel like as I've gone to more and more shows that I didn't realize maybe when I was first starting off, but I see now like vendors kind of. Do you feel like your goal at a show is to intake, like buy as much stuff as you can that you could essentially almost sell right there then and there at the same show? Or are you picking up stuff to then hold and wait for the next show?
It's honestly, I go with the flow. So it's literally, if you watch Pawn Stars again,
Yeah.
it's you never know what's gonna come to your table, pretty
True.
much. So I enjoy just you can find the most random stuff will come up to your table. There are some people will buy an item that I think would sit there for like, I was like, oh, I got this at such a good deal, but it's gonna sit for a year. At the last show,
Yeah.
then they buy it right there. I'm like, oh, you wanted that one?
And
Okay,
someone-
I'll take it. So I will. There are many times I'll say, like at the beginning of the video, I got a lot of inventory, guys. I'm looking to sell a lot, and then it was Kansas City CollectorCon.
Mhm.
I ended up spending the most I ever did at a show at that show. I just if it
Because
comes-
people are coming up to
if
you
they
with stuff
come-
that
If I sell too much, I sell too much. If I buy too much, I buy too much. I just do. I handle each deal in front of me as is.
as the deal.
Interesting.
I like that. And you seem to. It's kind of like what you said in the beginning. You seem almost excited about that, or
Yeah.
you like that kind of
You don't know what's gonna
mystery.
happen. It's
You
a
don't know.
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A huge thank you to Collectr for sponsoring today's episode of the Card Lounge podcast. Collectr is the ultimate app to track value and manage your collection like a pro. Imagine this, you're at a card show and you need to know the value of a card immediately. You can scan the cards in seconds. Just point your phone and boom, the card name, set, rarity, and price. You have all of the insight on the current state of the Pokemon card market in the palm of your hand. Want to know the value of your collection today? Collectr pulls live price data from real-time sales, so you're always locked in on the current market value. No more digging through sold listings. Your collection digitized and organized with zero hassle. With real-time portfolio tracking, you'll see your total collection value, daily movers, and price history over time. You can even add cards to your watch list so you remember what you wanted to pick up. Collectr also offers an amazing platform to show off your collection to others. You can even see my whole entire collection showcase on the Collectr app. Try out Collectr today. It's available for download on iOS and Android.
That sounds just a little bit different from Jarchov, and I don't want to quote him to be wrong, but basically, if he buys too much, there does come a point when he says, "Oh, intuitively, he knows he has too much of this card or something," and he'll back off on it. Will you do the same? Where if you have like 4 Umbreon EX, you're like, "I'm good on the 5th one."
It depends on my plan for the card. So, for example, right now I had plans for my raw cards that I was telling you guys, but so I have 20 Charizard 151s, but I can still take more because that's fine. If I don't want them anymore, if now I'm changing my mind, I don't want the raw cards, then I'll hold off. So it's not more like the quantity is great, especially if I want it for myself. But as a selling wise, if it's stable and a good deal, I'll still buy it. I'll still take the risk because you can't predict everything. Not everything will go your way. So if at the time it's a good decision, regardless if you have 10, 20 of them, then I'll still take it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of cards that you would say like, "Oh, these are always pickups" or something like that?
Yeah, your top 4 or 5. I know you said you haven't been to a show in a while, but like when you're like in the throes of it every weekend going to a show, what are your top 4 or 5 heaters where it's almost like I bet you probably feel this way because I know a lot of you guys that you have constantly people coming to your table. If you see this certain slab or card, you're like, "Oh, I know immediately what I can say I'll buy it for, what someone would probably sell it for, and I know I'm taking it because I know I can move it for X amount."
Honestly, it's less about the card and more about the price. So if a Moonbreon PSA 10, that is like the blue chip stock
It's the
indicator
modern
of the
chase,
market, right?
Yeah, the modern grail.
I can pay higher for it,
Right.
but I'll offer lower. If someone sells lower, great. If they need higher, then I'll gauge like, can I make money on it? Do I have 5 already? If so, I'll probably hold off. So that's the best card you can get, but it depends more on the price, right? If they want 95 Poncho Pikachus are also super liquid.
They're on fire right now. Yeah.
I remember someone had a full set and he wanted 96% market. It's a no-brainer pickup if you get it at a good price.
Yeah.
But I can't pay 96% market.
Right.
So it matters less about what the card is. And on the opposite side, I actually will buy bulk. Like some people have really low-end cards that they're fine selling for 60% because it's percentages is a number is like, oh, he's ripping them off 60%, but 60% of a $30 card is not that much. You're making like $5-10.
Right. It's a time value of money at that point, which is basically if you have a $1 card, the amount of work you have to do to even sell for $2, it's not worth your time.
Right. If you could move a bunch of them at 50 cents
you
per,
have to
and
look at
someone
both the amount and the percentage of that.
Yeah.
And for that other card, like that Sylveon card, you said, you made $100 on it, which is not much percentage wise, but it's $100.
It's a good flat value.
Right. Exactly. You know what? So I'm curious to dive into that more, to let you kind of continue down. When you're talking about it matters more about price than the card, are you looking more at the flat value gains that could be more beneficial for you and your business, or just looking for the best possible ROI transactions?
This matters depending on where you are in your business.
Okay.
If you have a limited, most people will run into the capital is their limiting factor. So you have to be careful because there's a opportunity cost of what you're buying.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't have that problem anymore because I'm lucky enough to be in the position I am.
Nice.
Now it's more about, will I make money? Yes or no. If it's yes, I'll buy it, even if I have to sit on it for 6 months.
Right, because you have the capital to know you're not in trouble.
It's like having a big pot in poker. You can take more chances because if you lose, doesn't matter. But if you have $5,000 to work with, and a $2,500 Moonbryon comes up, you're gonna have to be a little bit nitpicky,
Right.
with your purchasing power, because that'll wipe out half your.
Okay, so when you were maybe younger in your career of starting vendor POV content, and maybe you had to be a little bit more choosy about what you're buying, is it, did you see certain cards and go, oh, I could make a flat, like $400-500 profit, even though that's only like a percent margin, or are you maybe picking up $5-10 raw cards, knowing that, well, if I get them from these guys for $2 or $3 and then I put them on, my table, someone buys them at full price, that's like a 200%, maybe 300% ROI.
Yeah, I look at both. So,
Okay.
and it changes on how much money you have. Earlier, I would buy stuff that was $20 raw all the time. Now, personally, I try not to buy anything under $100 because
just
you
not even worth.
you have limited space on your table.
Correct.
So the same space for a $100 PSA 10 is the same as a 10,000 PSA 10.
I see.
So while I might not make as much percentage-wise, I'll probably make more total-wise.
Because
you actually make more money on bigger cards.
Right.
But you get more sales on. I mean, it makes sense. So
Yeah.
it depends what you're going for. The people out there that have 2 islands, nothing but $5 singles, they're making volume,
a lot
and
of money. Right.
but they got the employees.
It's a lot of work. Whereas
It's
someone can
yeah.
make the same,
in one deal. That's
right.
10,000.
Exactly.
I do know vendors that only sell like one item a day or something, but like it's like a
it pays for
$500,000 item.
Dude, I don't get how there's some vendors where they have all those cards. I'm sure like I'm trying to think of like achievement or just where they've got these like, it's just all high end, and you're like, man, if no one comes to you and buy, but they do find the buyers, and once they sell like 1 or 2 or 3 things, they're kind of just as good as a vendor that went through like 600 transactions.
Yeah, it's because it's something you can juggle. Every vendor can pick what they want to focus on. You can be a bulk seller,
right.
High end seller, you can do a thing. So the reason why the high end sells really good is typically they're higher end and valuable because they're rare, very sought after. But the saying, the riches are in the niches. There are some cards that haven't sold in a while. So if you're able to get at a reasonable price, you can ask whatever you want, even if it's 5x what you paid, which is unheard of if you're buying a Moonbryon. You're not going to buy that for 20%.
Right, because someone else will get it to you for cheap.
So if you have a good eye for stuff that someone was willing to buy, not knowing, because it's I know personally, buying something expensive with no prior sales, you feel like, am I making a mistake?
Yeah.
So, but if you're able to have a good eye for what people are willing to just buy, and you have the resources, if like rich collectors that'll just buy, hey, I'm looking for this, here's my budget, okay, you buy it for this, your profit right there. That's a very popular thing. They'll like source for the rich people who don't care.
Do you feel like you have a good eye?
Sometimes, because
when was the last time you did something like that, where you bought a speculative thing, but you're like, I think someone will pay way more than what I'm buying this for?
Let's see. Anything crazy? Nothing of no. Like I can think of recently. Not a crazy example. It was a Charizard 6.5 level X. 6s go for, I don't remember, I was making up a number, $100.
Sure.
Right. I think I asked like 200, which was a PSA 8 price.
Right.
Someone bought it though because it's a very unique.
A 6.5.
That was the first time I've ever seen it. PSA 6.5.
Right.
It's a very unique card. Someone's going to pay for it. Same thing with I had a Raikou full art pop 1 that was at 8.5, and then I had some Raikou collectors message me. They bought it for asking.
Oh man.
Someone actually offered. I said, let me think about it, and like 2 minutes later, someone else bought it for asking, and I was like, sorry, man. And on a bigger scale, you'll like for a pop 1 card that's hasn't sold ever.
And, right.
You can ask what. Another example, I have a black label rainbow bird, like the Zapdos Articuno Boltress. Hasn't sold at all, but it's pop 5. I can ask whatever I want. So,
wait, a rainbow?
Zapdos,
The tag team?
Articuno, yeah, the tag team.
That is kind of a cool card.
Yeah.
I've got some black labels from you before. The illustration
Probably.
contest.
Oh, yeah. Those are high pop. Another one. I had a black label Shining Genesect from Shining Legends. That was a pop 1.
Nice.
And I think I sold it to Clover for, I don't know, like $700, $600 or something.
What'd you pick it up for?
But I think I paid like 200.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's pop one.
It's pop one, and
I can ask whatever I want.
right, there's probably a Genesect lover that
You own it. It's the only one in the world. Genesect. I mean, it's not a popular.
It's not, but someone out there's favorite Pokemon will be Genesect.
So something like that, you take your money, and then I sold it to him. I think I was asking like maybe 1,000 or something, but I was like 600-700 or whatever I sold.
You
for.
made your profit.
You made money.
Yeah.
And then because I know he deals more with like the
he might find
someone else that will pay 1,000.
Genesect will pay the 1,000. Yeah.
So everyone's got to eat along the chain.
And that right, we just basically explained the whole economy of how all these cards might move to eventually the end collector that owns them. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're fine with, let's say, for like Bubble Mew, right? For one show, you might buy it for 200, sell it for 300, and the next show you might literally be buying it for 400 and selling it for 500.
Exactly.
And that doesn't feel weird because you're like, hey, I'm rebuying a card that I sold last week for less.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't feel weird because I'm hoping I sell it fast. So I'm just making money in the meantime.
And is that what you're describing? That's the number one objective for the vendor at any of these shows, would you say?
Should be. That's just making money.
Okay. Well, I guess to your point, right? Just to be making
You're
money.
trying to, because you could buy it and hope it goes up.
You could go,
but you're just
right.
speculating.
Or you could do more, like there was one, I mean, actually, one of the Las Vegas, I think this was just last year when we went to the front row. Was that at a front, or no, it was maybe a Collecticon. Maybe I think it was LA Collecticon because we drove.
You have to tell me the story.
Well, the story when I bought those two cards where I was like, oh, I know this is undervalued, and I flipped it for like.
I'll tell you the story because I remember it was Houston Collecticon.
Oh, was it Houston?
It was Houston Collecticon. He bought an Alola Friends full art trainer card and the Pikachu that goes along with it. The Pikachu was a 10. The Alola Friends was a PSA 9.
Yeah.
And you argue with the guy to beat him down and said like, hey, this is a 9. It should be worth way less, right? And he got the cards, and Rob looked at me and said, hey, was that a good deal? And I said, yeah, I think you can literally sell these right now. And he said, well, I'll go try that. We went to a couple of different vendors, and he argued with another vendor. It's the opposite direction, which is you said, hey, this is a strong 9, and it should deserve a 10. And you were able to get a premium, and you flipped it within 2 hours for $1,000.
Was I gonna crack it? And so how that relates is just I thought I could make more than 1,000 if I regraded them because I knew the 10 and that was at the time when those two cards specifically were like really high. So I was like, if I grade these in 10s, I'll make way more than $1,000. But it was like right then and there in that opportunity. And then when I talked to Jake about it later, I was like, you know what? I'm glad I did that because I know later it's very real. And I think as a collector, and so for anyone listening, you'll notice that once you've gotten back into this hobby for 6 months or a year or two, there are times, I think all three of us have done this. I know we have, but you buy something thinking, oh, I'm going to grade this later. I'm going to truly maximize the profits. But you think that about 20, 30 different cards, and then suddenly on your desk, there's a pile of, oh, I need to crack this slab and regrade it. Oh, but this one needs to go to BGS and this one needs to be PSA. And then it just never gets done because you're on to the next deal or there's something else that you could be doing. And you're kind of like, man, if I would have just sold it in its form that it was already in made money off of it, I'd be kind of done with this already. Yeah. And and I'm not saying like later, maybe you could make more money with it, but it takes time and it takes like this effort value that is so, it just prolongs and adds up with your other collecting things that you're trying to do. And eventually you just hit this bandwidth level where you like can't do it all,
Yeah. Your time definitely plays a factor. Like, again, you make a lot of money selling bulk if you got the time to sort through it and sell it on TCG Player.
Yeah.
But usually that's like a storefront that has the manpower to go.
I used to do that. It was back in college or at my master's day, I had like 1,000 listings of like 50 cents Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
For a while, and after class at like 8 p.m., I would spend 2 or 3 hours shipping cards. I'm like, man, at a certain point, it's not worth it.
It's not. I tried to tell. There was like this one channel on TikTok. I can't remember the person doing it, but it was like he'd like have this mindset about it, and I was like, like eventually he's gonna find out this is like not worth the time because you got to factor in time as a resource.
Most people grow through stages as a vendor.
Yeah.
One thing you brought up I thought was really interesting was that you said to find like a niche or like find a specialty, especially as a vendor, because there's vendors that specialize in like a very specific card or a certain era. And I think a lot of people right now are trying to become like their own business or side hustle with
Yeah.
Pokemon cards. And I think that's a great call out is they should find their own niche.
Mhm.
Is that there's something out there, like maybe they're really good at sealed or really good at full art trainer cards or Japanese, but like hone in on that.
Yeah.
Especially to the Pokemon market where I know some people who only deal in Chinese cards or Korean cards now even, where it's so niche that what you can deal with and still be completely okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's easier to build like a following if you get your niche
I was
correct.
gonna say,
So
yeah.
if you're known as the Sparkle guy,
Yeah.
the Topps Pro, or the Chinese guy, you get your thing. You can always do other stuff,
Right.
But it's easier to break through and be unique.
Yeah.
And as such, it's such a competitive environment now. You got to step. You
Yeah,
got to, become. I don't
You
know.
fi- well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, more defined in the
Yeah.
sense even your customers will find you. Like when I'm trying to find Topps Chrome Sparkle cards I don't have, I've just through searching so much found the guys that were collecting Topps Chrome Sparkles before me.
Yeah.
And they either know a lot of the network or they've hoarded enough of the cards where it's like, oh, I gotta deal with this guy to get the Sparkle Krabby because he's got like 12 of them and like he's got all the Krabbies. And it's like,
exactly.
I need-
And then if he has a story sale and he sells a Moonbryon, that's nothing you're related, but
Right.
you're looking at
That's-
it, you buy it from him too.
Exactly.
So you still
Yeah,
build
yeah.
your thing. It just helps you penetrate and become a little bit more new.
I'm curious. So, what is the Bulbastore's specialty? I noticed earlier in the pod you've said that you don't really mess with vintage in a way that you were talking about, like for certain popular cards that were outside of your specialty, like EX era. But then also you've also said, no, I don't really mess with modern either. So, what do you mess with then?
Well,
How do you have your big case? You gotta have
that's more
something in
so
there.
for I guess personal. It's in my head, but it's like vegetables. I don't like it, but I still got to do it.
Yeah, okay,
So
fair.
I will I have the case of vintage.
Uh-huh.
I don't like it.
I
I have the modern. It's a little risky depending on how modern it is. I bought a bunch of illustration rares. I'm just buying them to buy them. My specialty is that my store is a jack of all trades. I have such
You
a
do kinda
large.
have a
I
jack
got
of all trades.
$20,000 cards, and I got $20 cards. So I try to have, because
Something
now
for everyone.
my business is more the show,
The content.
so the content.
I was gonna say that's your specialty.
So I have people, kids not buying a $2,000 Umbreon,
Correct.
but they will buy a $10 Eevee
right.
raw.
So
card
you
that
put some
got.
of that out on your table,
Just a
where
little.
right,
Yeah.
and you almost want to have a little bit of something for every type of collector,
Yeah.
so that with your focus being now a lot of your like vendor POV content,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a lot of different types of collectors and interactions come up to your table.
Yeah, I'm more about like, that's not customer service, but like I appreciate that people want to come to my booth. So recently at like popular shows, people will wait like crazy amount of times, and there's only one of me, and I have to go through these deals.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that sucks is when they're waiting in line for so long, for like an hour. They come to my booth. I don't have anything they want.
Oh.
I don't want to buy anything they want. They're like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And it's like, dang.
So they
I
just
feel
waited for you.
bad. So I try to have as wide a variety, something, so you can do something. But if you were
Position.
not a YouTuber, I wouldn't. I'd probably focus on. But at the time, I used to be a poncho guy.
Okay.
So at the time, ponchos were about $800 to $1,000 each.
I think that was
PSX.
the video where. Well, no, you were on my
That was-
radar
yeah, that
before
was
that,
way
but
over.
but that was one where
But I
it
had-
blew. That poncho where you black labeled like a couple of them, right?
They
And
were,
that
they
was
were
just
all BGS 10, and I got 2 black labels.
nice.
I opened up a Luigi box. It was
Open
a
up my
9.5 and a 9.
That's yeah.
The funny
exactly,
thing,
the
people,
difference.
that video
Oh.
made people open it, but they don't realize it is hard.
Look,
It is
correct.
Same thing
I get.
before I was a creator.
I get- yeah.
And I get like 8.5,
Correct.
9.5 on all of them.
I get that all the time. Like I understand because I grade a lot, so I knew how extremely lucky you
Yeah, I was
you
like, oh.
were. And there's some skill in like being able to look for proper cards to send
Mm-hmm.
off for grading. And like I've gotten pretty used to knowing what to. I mean, you're talking about cards that were just in a blind
Yeah,
box,
you're
so
just guessing.
you're right. You just had to ask for, or you're just opening and like what you're gonna send is what you're gonna send. And the fact that all your copies were like very well centered, very clean is just like. I mean, thank
Just
goodness
lucky.
you got your
Yeah.
box
You
instead
were gonna
of
grade
his
those
box.
no matter what.
If,
You know?
Yeah.
if it was a 9, it was a 9. The only one was the Mario and Luigi. I
Yeah.
sent to PSA because I was like, oh, these aren't. These I knew they
You
were
knew
not.
they
So I was
wouldn't
like,
get a BGS.
it doesn't make any sense for me to send these off,
Gotcha.
knowing I'm losing money.
Did they
if I
get
send
10s at PSA? Or
The
9s?
Luigi's did, I believe. The Marios did not.
Gotcha.
So it was still better than getting 8.5. And
did
at the time, it was a lot more. It was an expensive video,
Yeah.
but every single box was less than $20,000 for me. Now that's like 2 boxes.
I know.
I think
That's
like every single
wild.
box right now would be like 70 to 80 for every single one, the same one.
Something insane.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I was thinking about doing it again.
Right.
For when I hit 100K, I was like, I'm gonna do it again.
But now it's a
I
more
was like,
expensive
oh,
video.
gosh. I can do it.
Well,
this
where'd you
way.
find was that stuff that walked up to your table, or did
Nah,
you
that was a
find
local deal. Like
in your town? Someone put up a. I'm trying to sell all my
no,
poncho
they
boxes.
messaged me. But
Oh,
they were
okay.
like, "Hey, I live in Houston. I got these
poncho-
boxes. I think he was getting married or having a kid. I bought 2 collections of ponchos,
Yeah.
similar, but one of them I was a kid, and then one of them was getting married. They needed the money,
That's-
and they bought it when it was $50
Cheap.
in the closet.
Do you find, is that the best, or is that what we have to do as I find now as I go to shows, there's not as many deals from like vendors. I mean, I don't know, when you'll cut me a deal, or like there's more deals that would have happened maybe 5 years ago than now. And I feel like it's so tough because everyone's so competitive that it's almost like the only way to really buy stuff is from a collector that is either like about to get married or about to have a kid. They basically have a life event where they're like, oh, I need a quick spurt of cash. So I need to sell some Pokemon. And then you or us being like, in this hobby for life, we're like, oh, this is the opportunity to buy. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit more of how, because Pokemon's so much popular now.
Yeah.
At the time, so I usually buy at 70% and I trade at 80%. And trading was not, from what I recall, was not a normal thing. Most people didn't trade. And if they did, it wasn't at 80%.
Sure.
And then when they were buying, at the time, 70% was really good. And now it's all right, but people will pay 80, 90 because it's so much more competitive
Right.
as buyers, and then sellers are more savvy, and it's easier to sell because there's more buyers and sellers, so the liquidity is higher compared to back then. So it's easier for the random Joe Schmo to go sell. He could consign it on GameStop or whatever.
Yeah.
You can get much more money doing a little bit more work than you used to be able to.
The margins 5 or 6 years ago were crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Like you could grade a $10 card and sell for $200. I did that a lot.
Yep.
But now it's completely different where the margins is much tighter, but it's much more liquid. It would take me a while to sell cards because there were just less people buying cards 5 years ago.
Right. So wait, is that sellers becoming more savvier or buyers?
It's a little bit of both. Yeah. It's absolutely.
Right. It's interesting. I like what you just said about how it's like, even 5-10 years ago, the average collector, or maybe just like if you're a hobbyist and the amount of work you'd have to put in to squeeze a little bit more juice out of the lemon was so much higher. But now it's so much less of a barrier that it's like it's worth it for a lot of people to just engage in that extra 1 step or 2 steps instead of 5 or 6. And then and then it's just creating this kind of like, well, now you have to kind of, I guess, compete with other people that are also trying to buy collections where you feel like you can't pick up too much stuff at 70% anymore because some other vendor will offer 75% or 80%.
Actually, no. And I thank the viewers for this, but it's more of like a competitive advantage where I still consider myself a fair. Sometimes I'll pay the highest price. Sometimes I won't, but I'll always give you an offer, and then I'll say you can shop it around if you get another offer. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. But there's many times where people just they will take a deal. Like let's say they pulled the card.
Okay.
70%, 80%, they're gonna make like $200.
Oh, right, because to them it was $4.
And they're like a fan or something. They want to be in the video, so I try to put everything in the video.
Yeah.
They're just trying to interact or support the channel. Either way it is. So I still get a good amount of deals than I would say compared to if no one knew who I was.
Right.
and I get more deals because of that stuff. So I'm grateful for it.
Well, right. So what you're saying is, I mean, the YouTubing that you've done has like marketed yourself to
Pretty
where I
much.
think a lot of people recognize you online now, and then, you know, obviously in person. Do you feel like you would still be as successful as a that? Well, no, because I'm sure you'll say like obviously it has helped you.
Yeah.
But do you think, I guess, even outside the online kind of you know, channel, like if you didn't do any vendor POV ever, would your mindset still be churn? Like, would you still be kind of vending the same way that you would be now?
I honestly, I mean, I understand the question,
Yeah.
but because I've always known that like social media is such a good, it's free advertising,
Right.
it's free money.
And is that more of your main goal? Because I get the sense you like being a
Uh,
content creator.
I wouldn't say it's my main goal.
Not the main
anymore.
goal, okay.
It's something I really enjoy. It was a childhood goal.
Right.
You know, it's a dream I'm still living.
Same,
But
yeah.
it's the whole thing together. I get to be a YouTuber, going to the shows, buying and selling
Yeah.
cards for a living. So it's
Yeah.
all combined.
That's cool.
And it wouldn't make sense not. That's why you see everyone do it now.
Right.
It just makes sense. Now, you
Fair
might
point.
not be successful, but it's worth trying to do.
Gotcha.
Because even if it's a 2% chance to become a successful YouTube channel
Yeah.
or get any following, it's worth it. Because if
Yeah.
you do, you'll grow to
Even, or even if you don't grow or become huge, when you just said it's worth it, it's kind of like, actually, I know a lot of local guys. Right. In the past 2-3 years, I remember going to local shows. They didn't put up cameras. Now it's like everyone's got their camera put up. I'm sure inspired by like you, Jar
Yeah.
Chomp, whoever else. And it's kind of like the point of them doing it is, even if they didn't do that, I might not even know who they were online. But now on their Instagram channel, they can put up a couple clips of whatever. And eventually, out of 10, 20 clips, one interaction of a buy and sell will go
It can go
somewhat
viral,
viral.
too, yeah.
Right. And if it goes even viral enough to where it exposes 1 or 2 more people to them, that leads to 1 or 2 more buys,
Deals.
it's worth it.
and it's free.
It's
Yeah.
free.
I watch a lot of YouTubers,
Well,
and I
yeah.
see a lot of those. Like, I'll see a lot of videos where it says, "Hey, this is my first month owning a Pokemon card store,"
Yeah.
or "Here's what I learned,"
Hmm.
or "Here's how I started my business with $10,000." They're just young content creators with 500 views, and they're trying their own thing. And I'll say, even if they fail, I think it's still a good learning experience. If they tried it for 6 months, it didn't work out, I think it's still awesome experience.
Yeah.
It's free marketing. So so again, to your question, I couldn't see myself not trying. So
Yeah.
when I did it at the time, I don't know if I would still try as much because I would say it sucks. I don't know what if I'm honest, I don't know what it's like to really fail at the videos. Because I've been successful from the start. I've been lucky to be
Right.
successful.
You've been lucky.
from the
Yeah.
start.
And I know you've said that.
So
You
I don't
feel lucky.
know if I would
If-
keep doing it if I was getting
after a
0
year,
views,
right, it didn't give
would
you
I
the
still
positive
yeah,
feedback.
I don't know.
Interesting.
In my head, I'm like, at the time, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. But hey guys, here's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like 20 views for 2 years straight. It's like
That would be-
maybe
right.
it's not your best.
And if you love doing it, right, like you love doing it enough to do it and put effort into making good videos.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's fair what you're saying, and like you're at least honest with yourself to know that it was obviously helpful that the positive feedback right away and the positive growth
yeah.
definitely compelled you to keep going with it.
Yeah.
It would be tough if you just didn't get any views
for sure.
for editing
I
those
think
videos.
For your content specifically, it pops off very quickly. You build credibility very quickly. Is that you're already a vendor. People already see you as like, oh, he's a vendor. He's credible. He knows what he's talking
Yeah.
about. If you were, Dylan Bulbastore, and you did a random video where you sat down and said, hey, here's my thoughts on the hobby, I don't think you would get views. And I think that's okay. But as a vendor, you're already automatically seen as a credible source.
Yes. I would say
guess, yeah.
so. As a vendor, your credibility is everything. So it will. If you think about sealed people, there's you can charge 20% premiums on vintage boxes because people know for sure it's legitimate and they're willing to pay for that peace of mind.
Yeah.
I have had many deals where people will. It'll help me in terms of buying and selling. So for selling, people will wire me money first.
Yeah.
And then I send them their, I don't know if I said the right selling buy, but if they're buying from me, I'll
No,
was I saying?
I know. They'll send you like maybe the stuff
If
first,
they're
and
buying
you'll
stuff
send the
and
money after,
and they're
which
willing to do
usually
that,
it's
they save money
Right.
too because
Right.
they're not having to pay.
They know you're good for it.
Yeah.
they know
Someone's
I'm good
willing
for
to
it.
send you 12 grand because they know you're gonna send your stuff
Exactly.
Right.
every time.
right.
It's that peace of mind, and that kind of goes back to like that. Someone might pay. There was a time where I offered less for a Moonbryon, which was like $700 at the time.
Mhm.
He was like, "Someone offered me $750 over there." And I was like, "Oh, I got like 6 of them now. I really can't pay that much more."
Right.
He was like, "You know what? I'll do it," and just to support
felt-
stuff.
Oh, okay.
And, and having that credibility online. If you're selling the same card,
Correct.
$700, you're gonna beat out the guy with no credibility at all. There was when I buy huge collections, I'm talking like $100,000. Oh, that's where I was getting to, not that side.
Yeah.
If they would rather sell to someone with they know everything's gonna go smoothly,
Right.
Even if they were offered more from some new dude, you're like,
It's
is
too
this a
like
scam? Too
right.
good?
Right.
I'll
There's
tell
too
you a
many
story.
unrealistic
when
variables.
I first started on Reddit, I had zero credibility.
Okay.
But I know I'm a credible dude, but they don't know that because
Yeah.
I'm brand new.
Right.
Someone had a Skyridge Master set for like really cheap, and I wanted to buy it. So I offered him full asking price, but he ended up selling it to someone else who had a lot more reputation.
Do you know who it was?
No, because they're like usernames.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like random people, and it haunts me to this day
Now
because
you
it was
missed
such
out
it
on
was
it.
such a good deal, and
Yeah.
I knew I would have kept it as a PC,
Sure.
and it was such a good deal, and I just kicked myself for now. I have like so much credibility, but I can
Reputation,
never
yeah.
go back and get that deal. So the
Right.
faster you can get credibility, it really is
Yeah.
a tiebreaker.
In this hobby, reputation is very like I think important. It's actually kind of shocking how many people are willing to sacrifice their
Throw it away,
reputation
for
for
like a
just
couple
a
bucks.
couple hundred, even 1,000. It's like you couldn't ask me to trade it away for 100 grand and
Yeah.
I would do it because it's just so much infinitely more valuable. And it does play into certain things where I know like even when I'm streaming, like people may be willing to spend more money with me, not even just for the experience with me, but just the safety of knowing like they're not going to get scammed. Like all my stuff's 100% authentic. I can like back it through, I'm not getting stuff like, that are like checked packs or CT scanned packs. It's like people know that they can encounter that stuff elsewhere. I think because everyone in this hobby, especially I think right when you get back in, everyone has their experience of their first time getting scammed by someone. And it's not fun, when you're like,
Not at
hey, you said this and oh, you lied the whole time? Oh, you're just
Exactly.
stealing my money? All right, and I can't do anything about it? Well, that sucks. Yeah.
It's kind of like buying something straight from the website instead of getting a slight discount from a shady
another
place.
there you go. Yeah,
You're
it's just like that.
I'm gonna buy the real
From the
the
thing.
piece of mind.
Well, that's why. So I felt like when I was getting a lot creating content, it was like when I started to get more of my collection and have more and more cards, it was very easy to just say, oh, well, you could just buy that from me, or like I've got these packs or these old Champions Path ETBs because I bought them when no one wanted them. They were just sitting on the shelves. And I remember that actually during COVID. I mean, this is before Whatnot, before Drip, before TikTok before TikTok and before TikTok Live. It was like people would just send me like basically you could just send money direct only to a few people that were like trusted. Oh, so I guess not before TikTok Live, but it was like I remember when I started to do stuff on TikTok, it was kind of like if you built up enough trusted like name brand recognition, people would be like, oh, I can send you the money first. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I got more money for this. And, I'll send you this item. And then, everyone was happy because everything went through as long as you're not trying to do like Blake Martin and like, scam your audience.
Okay, we're getting near the end of the podcast. I was just curious. Do you have like a recent like big deal that you've made? Something cool that you thought it's like a 50 grand deal or something that's happened through an email or something like that?
I
Oh
haven't
yeah, one of
had
your
a-
biggest
I haven't
deals.
had a big deal like that in a long time. Most people, I mean, online, I haven't posted online in a while buying or selling because the shows have been enough. And not that many people come to your show with 50. The last time I remember was in Hawaii, which was January.
Okay. Oh, that's not that long ago, man.
Oh, okay. I
That's
didn't
good,
I didn't
yeah.
end up buying it, but he I didn't even have enough money to buy it.
Okay.
It was like, I remember over $40,000 worth of like Japanese Gold Star PSA 10s, really high end shining.
Was this when I was with you?
I don't think so. In Hawaii?
Wasn't there a guy that had all the Gold Star Charizard? I wanted to get one from you. I don't know if you still have one in a lower slot.
No.
But that was like kind of decent. But you ended up buying a lot of those.
I think that was like 2 years ago, though.
Was that 2 years ago? Seems
Over
like
a year
yesterday.
ago.
Maybe it was over a year ago.
A long
Okay, so
time
this
ago.
is more recent.
This one
is
was,
what- but still Gold Stars.
It was Japanese Gold Star PSA 10, Shinings, like all a bunch of cool stuff. Some cards were like $5,000 by themselves.
Yeah.
And I think my offer would have been like so it was like 50,000 plus.
Yeah.
Right.
But I didn't have enough money at the time. So I ended up only spending, I don't remember, like 10, 13,000 or so.
To buy like a chunk of
Oh,
it?
I'll take this back. I did a video. I don't remember if it was this year or not. But
Okay.
he's someone that has sold me many things in the past. He
Sure.
sold me a Crystal Charizard PSA 10,
Ooh.
Gold Star Charizard PSA 10, Japanese of both, Japanese Crystal Charizard, Japanese thing.
So big hitters.
Yeah, and I don't even remember how much it paid, but it had to have been like over 50,000 or something.
Man.
Something crazy.
I wait, did you make a YouTube
I made a
video
YouTube
on this?
video
I
on
think
it.
I saw this.
It
Yeah,
was
so
like,
you did do a
I
huge
just spent
purchase.
like 50,000 or 100,000 something, and I like ranked through
right.
which ones. So that's the one I made, and the biggest one was the Skyridge Charizard. At the time, I think it was like $12,000, and now it just sold for like 26.
Oh my goodness!
And the Gold Star Zard was like 20, maybe like 19,000 or 21,000 at the time.
And what is it now?
Now I think it's like 35, 26.
When you buy that though, are you not scared that like did you buy that for your PC or
I think content.
you bought it just for content?
Well, I knew I'd make money. The Charizard, the Crystal Zard, I needed for myself.
So you were gonna keep that anyway.
I was gonna keep that for myself. And I'm like, if I lose money, I lose it. This is the name of the game.
I will say vintage,
Yeah.
you know, it's a little bit safer than modern. I feel like if someone came to you and with like 50,000 in modern, you're going to be like, whoa, hang on a second.
The Gold Star Zard will always, that's the second best Gold Star. Rayquaza is usually
right.
way more expensive.
Yeah.
But like that is as grail of a grail as it gets.
Yeah.
Japanese, the same thing. I believe it was unlimited, which is rare.
Yeah.
Crystals are Japanese, crystals are English. Those aren't going away.
Okay, so you're dropping 50 G's and you are thinking, okay, a part of this is for my PC. That would be an expensive, the Skyridge, the Crystal Charizard.
Because I needed it anyway.
You need it, right.
So.
But then you get all this other stuff. You said, oh, I knew I was going to make money anyways. Were you buying these
confident I was going to make my money back at least, if not make money. So that's how I always think.
How were you so confident in that? Did you just buy it at a percentage?
Yeah, I was like, I don't even remember what percentage it was. Maybe 85%, 80%.
So because you're buying from him, you're like, okay, I can take all this in. You did the values of these big cards and you're like, well, I'll buy it at 85% of this so that if you needed to just, like, let's say, so you just dropped 50 grand, but if you needed 50 grand the next day, you could just
I wouldn't stretch myself like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this was like
You
way
got money
extra.
in the bank.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, you
sure.
know what I mean?
Well, sure. So
So-
you have expendable income, but it's still like an amount of play income for you, but it's a huge amount to where your only safety net is just knowing that what you bought, like, so you spent 50K, was the value of it for like 65 or 60K?
Yeah, it was
basically?
probably like 60 or so.
Right. And
so
if you needed to sell it.
Well, I knew I wouldn't need to sell it, but if I
right.
did, I knew like I won't need to fire sell a Gold Star Zard PSA 10.
Right.
Somewhat. As soon as I posted it,
someone
can I
would
buy
want
it?
it.
There's so many rich people out there.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's can you even find it in the first place?
Mhm.
So I knew for sure. And again, you have to know what if that was a random never sold niche card that's also 25,000. That's a big difference.
Mhm.
So this card I know is a grail of grails. I won't, even if I don't know, I had a serious hospital emergency, the next day I could get my money back.
Right.
Easy peasy. So, and the money part is scary if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So in my opinion, if it's under six figures, there's collectors for $1 million cards.
Of course.
There are a lot of more than you would think
Yeah.
that collect hundreds of thousands of dollar cards.
Do you just know these like rich collectors
I don't
follow
know-
you
I
or
don't know-
something?
I don't know many.
Like how do you know if you post it that it would get seen, but like if I posted it, I'd be worried that, oh, is the right buyer going to even see that I'm posting this?
Well, I kind of, if I ever did, I've never owned a card that's 600,000, but if I did,
sure.
I'd be making a YouTube video on it.
Okay,
and
right.
Someone's going to watch it.
I see. So just do content on it.
Because again, I buy stuff for content too. There are many times, there was, in Houston Collecticon, this one just came up, the Gengar Fire Red Leaf Green PSA 10, the EX.
Reverse holo?
The silver one.
Gotcha.
I think it was like $6,000.
Everyone's chasing that right now.
Yeah,
that and the Phantom Force
really high.
Yeah, it's been climbing.
These guys rushed at the end of the show and was like, "Can you buy these for me?" And I offered them, I think like 93%.
That's strong.
Or something, just because it would be a good content. Like the thumbnail would be insane. Like two of these is 12 grand or something. So I always think of content when I buy stuff.
Right, but
even if I don't make money on it.
You couldn't have bought it for less though and still gone like, oh, it's for content?
Because I know for that kind of stuff, you do have to pay high.
I see.
There is not another opportunity. It's almost like this is your one opportunity.
If you had said lower than 90, you think the guy would have just walked away?
His argument, and they could, everyone can lie, was he had a higher offer individually for one. So like if I was offering 6,000, he got offered, I think it was like 6,200 for one of them.
Okay.
But I was offering both for 6,000. So each, so 12,000 for two instead of 6,200 for one.
I see.
Like, I'll take my chances, whatever.
Gotcha.
So the deal didn't go through, but that was just, a run of the mill. I will buy it. I didn't expect to make a dime off that. I could, maybe, if I'm lucky and it keeps going up, maybe I lose money, but I didn't think about that. I just was thinking for the content. I have a different mindset than most normal people who aren't trying to do content.
Right.
And they're just a business.
I think as content creators, to factor in, if you can make a video about something, you almost kind of factor in the amount of money you can make off that content a little bit.
It's not even the money from the content. It's the advertising of that content.
Okay, even just the value of the content. I see what you're saying.
More people watch that. Let's say it gets 100,000 views and, I don't know, 30,000 never seen my video before.
Yeah.
That's
worth
5,000 subscribers, whatever it is. And that'll affect my other things. My name gets out there.
Yeah, right. And that's worth the extra $300 on the Gengar than trying to haggle 300 less and miss the deal.
$500.
Yeah.
I get a cool thumbnail.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of, I'm a content thinking person.
Yeah.
That's why I do the coin flips, because I personally enjoy them.
Yes. Okay, before we end, we got to go over some of your epic... Well, no. So you just really enjoy the coin flips. I think that is...
I don't enjoy them.
You're doing them. You enjoy...
the content. I would if there was no video recording, I would not do that.
I see.
The one I just posted, 09,000. The ones I did at Atlanta, 08,000.
I haven't seen... Dude, the 0 ones, I get why. Because I'm watching them and I'm like, I haven't spoiled myself. And I'm like, dude, does Dylan either win really big here or does he get...
I would not do that if the cameras were not rolling. But I do it because I personally think it's cool. And people will say like, oh, I don't like coin flips. It's too much gambling.
Some people do say that.
And I'm like, dude, Pokemon cards opening is gambling.
That's fair. Yeah.
So you do like it, you just don't like this form of it.
Oh, okay.
I would say like a 0 to 1, like, you either win it all or you lose it all. That's kind of hard for most people.
Yeah. You'll think about that. The win is like, oh, cool, I did it. But the loss...
If the flips were in that other guy's favor, you would have essentially just given a huge grail card away for free.
But it's good for content.
And it's
I would say if you do enough 0 to 1 flips, you end up kind of even.
That's my philosophy of why I do so many. People are... For any small flips, I know I might lose a bunch on one show. I do, but in my head, it'll average out.
I see. And it's like all the wins and losses average out, but you get the content for each one of them. So it's kind of like your net
free
positive.
Content, and in theory, it's free.
Yeah. If you only do 1, you either win or you lose. But if you do 50, you probably win 25 and lose 25.
The big ones, you only do a couple of them.
I know.
So that throws off the whole...
Can you tell?
That's why I like it.
I know you had a 0. Can you tell what is like the biggest one you've won and the biggest one you've lost? For just how, like, I'm sure for some of the big ones, your heart's pumping as you're like doing it, right?
It'll spoil it for you, but I've never lost the big one.
Oh,
he's never. Oh, look at this guy. No, I
think the biggest one I lost
Maybe he is lucky.
Maybe like 0. I think it was 1,000. I've 0 and 4,300 or 500.
Ooh, and you won
I've
that.
done some like 2,000, 3,000. I'm down on like it's probably got to be like 30-70 on wins losses.
No
but
way.
my wins are so
big.
huge.
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
probably still up.
Yeah, that's got to be skewing
And that
your.
that helps me do the ones going forward. There was one of the guy that lost those big ones.
Yeah.
Came back, did a smaller one. I lost it. I was like, whatever.
There you go.
Yeah, I got the other one, so
right.
still.
I'm curious, and it's not even like you're posing these to the potential people walking up.
The
It's
big
like
ones.
They're asking you,
Exactly.
hey, I'm gonna pay you double for this card,
Yeah.
but if I win, you give it to me for free,
again,
and you're just agreeing.
Is that
to
a
it.
little bit of what you're known for now? Is just being the coin flip guy?
After that video, it was because if you watch that last video I did, people were in the comments, this like all coin flip. It's not my fault. People enjoy the coin flip.
I get right.
So it even if it's small, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's fun for both of us. And to them, it's an experience. The comedy,
I think
the show, win
right.
or lose. they're
Let's
like, "I
focus
did a
on this
flip
guy.
with the
Yeah,
flip."
because I don't even want people to think it's like it's not even so much about the gamble with you. I think
Yeah,
it's like
it's an
there's
experience.
an experience that, people enjoy watching the Bulbastore, and a flip could be like, I mean, even if you did it with a kind of new to the hobby collector, he's trying to get like a $40 card. If he does 35, 45, he's not mad about giving you an extra $5 because he supports you. You're not mad about cutting him a $5 deal.
If I lose.
And he gets to do like this kind of game of chance with you that kind of builds that,
If you've seen enough of these shorts or videos, you just want to be in that shoe and have that experience.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, what's gonna happen and stuff.
Right,
So
and it adds the drama of not
Exactly.
knowing who's gonna win the
thing.
the
So the bigger
point.
the swing, the bigger the ooh.
Oh well, yeah,
That's why
dude, that's
the
what dude,
double or nothing.
With the first one I saw you do on a big one, as I was watching you, I could feel my heart for you, especially when it goes 1 and 1, and you're like, who's winning the third?
The third one.
Yeah, I was like,
I remember the first one I ever did, double or nothing. He came to me. It was Anthony.
yeah.
He did. It was 0-600, which is still
That's
pretty
still-
big.
yeah, it's
No,
still
That was
sizable.
my first one. I was a little smaller, and I was like, "Oh God!" And I remember I won it, and that was like the best feeling.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, hey, I got the other ones in the bag.
Yeah.
So if I lose it, it's like it sucks, but it should be covered by the others.
yeah.
But the only time I've ever approached someone to do double or nothing is if I'm buying it for my personal. Like I'll walk around Collecticon.
Yeah.
There's a EX Hollow that was. I just bought it in Houston. It was like $150.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's do 0 or 280. I'll lose. It's like whatever. I'm
Right.
not selling it.
You're buying it for I see.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll never be like, hey, this one 10,000. Let's go right
Yeah.
now. I'm not as big a gambler as people
Right,
think.
right. And you're
Just for the content.
Right. And you're doing this knowing that if you lose, you have the extra money to essentially pay double the value of the card. Yeah, guys, everyone watching, don't, if all you have is $500 to spend at the wall, like in your wallet, don't try to do a $1,000 coin flip and you're like, I don't have the money to cover this. Just so you can try to, because I always wondered, like, would someone try to be like, oh, if I just do this and I win, I'll just get free cards.
stuff.
But eventually I feel like you can
Yeah,
claw
did
to a
anyone not
point
pay-
where
People ask me if I don't know them and if it's big enough, I'll
you
make
ask
them
them
pay
to
first.
right. I've seen you say that. And you're like,
but-
if you win, I'll give the money back, right?
I think it was the last show I did, but no one has ever lost the coin flip and not been able to pay except for this last time.
Oh no, it happened.
And I don't remember if it was big or not. I don't think it could have been. But
Okay.
he couldn't pay for the card at all because of something, and I was like, but it wasn't big enough for me to be like, if it's like above 1,000, I'd say probably. At least they'll show me. But
Yeah.
if not, then pay me. You gotta
Sure.
pay me.
You got it right. And then right, at least show up front that you're
Yeah, like,
good.
if you
to
got
cover.
the cash, I'm like, okay, you don't have to give it to me. But if I see you got $1,000, that's cool.
Right, it's like proof.
But
in
for
it.
like, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
If the Poncho Pikachu one, he didn't have cash. I think it was Zelle. So he paid me Zelle, and if he lost, then I'd pay him
Zone
back.
back,
Sure.
right?
But I got to make sure that you have it, especially if you didn't have the cash. Like,
Yeah.
I need to make sure.
And,
you
and you're more that they know you're gonna honor it
Yeah,
because it's
what
like
am I
you're
gonna
not
do?
gonna throw your rep away
Exactly.
for $1,000.
Wait, Dylan, this
Yeah.
has been absolutely amazing. If our viewers want to check out your content, where can they find you?
Yes, I'm on mainly YouTube, but Instagram and TikTok at the Bulbastore. So yeah, follow me there. I try to do other content other than POVs and stuff, but mainly that's my bread and butter. Going to the shows, selling stuff, buying stuff, and showing cool deals.
You doing any skit content or like
I actually-
non-POV?
I I got skit ideas that I've like from years ago. I'm like, this should be funny stuff.
We'll film a YouTube video together. Maybe
I got
we can
so
do
many
one
ideas,
here.
but
Yeah.
all
Well,
kinds
dude,
of stuff.
thanks for coming, man. Everyone
Thanks
that
for
was
having
tuning
me.
in, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Sweet.